Whoa. We're live. We're live, Peter. We're live.
Ah.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm fine.
Are you ready for mayhem?
Actually, I'm not. I didn't expect that.
Either. Let's try to avoid mayhem if we can. That'd be awesome. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, am I recording? Yes, I am. It's always good to check, though.
A minuscule portion of the Daily Tech News Show was brought to you by me, because I went to patreon.com/acedetect and donated $1 a month to a podcast that I really enjoy. Won't you join me?
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, July 14th, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Peter Wells of Reckoner, Australia. Thank you for getting up early, as usual, Peter. Love having you on the show.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. It's always a pleasure, sir.
I appreciate getting the view from the other hemisphere, and we have a particularly interesting Australian story today to talk about.
Oh, we certainly do. I've had a rant building for many months on this show, but I've never tried to shoehorn it into other topics. So I'm glad it's finally dropped on a day that I'm on.
Now we will hear you rant. We'll get to that in a minute. It's about Netflix and it's about Australia, but let's start off with the headlines. Apple Insider passes along information from analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. He has a note that says Apple's 4.7-inch iPhone is still expected to debut in the autumn, but a larger 5.5-inch iPhone that's been rumored will not come until later. Kuo says Apple is working out the kinks in both devices' in-cell touch panels, as well as color unevenness on the next iPhone's metal casing. Kuo also expects that Apple will debut a new Apple TV set-top box this fall with motion controls and potentially support for a third-party app store. Peter, Kuo's usually pretty right on with his predictions, with his inside info.
I guess. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about the fact that Apple can't ship a product that they haven't announced yet. I mean, there have been delays on these Apple TVs with TVs in them for so long now, and now the 5-inch iPhone that hasn't even been announced is also delayed. It's a little bit worrying.
And it's not... I look at this and I think, well, I wonder if it's just that we have a little more insight into the supply chain this time around. Maybe they always have these sorts of issues, and we just never hear about them because we're just waiting for the announcement to come. And then when the announcement comes, it all goes away, right? Because they say a phone and they say a shipping date. And generally, they only announce one phone at a time, 5C being an exception, of course. So if they come out and just say, we're going to do an iPhone 6, I don't think I'd be that shocked.
No, not at all. Sorry, that was supposed to be a joke, but I guess it's too early in the morning. Yeah, I just think the 4.7-inch, that sounds like that sounds like a first good step into these larger devices. 5.5 is pretty damn big for a phone. I don't really like the Samsung phones of that size. I'm always looking for a smaller Android. So, yeah, I think 5.5 is probably a little bit too big.
Well, for an iPhone, it would be a shocker. All those iPhone people out there with their small phones, the Galaxy Note crowd would be fine with it, but of course they're not going to use getting an iPhone, I wouldn't think.
Look at these tiny little hands.
Yeah. Reuters reports the Internet Association has filed their comments regarding the U.S. FCC's Open Internet Guidelines. The association represents 36 companies, including Google, Netflix, and Amazon. The filing objected to allowing any kind of paid prioritization beyond reasonable network management and called for wireless networks to be treated the same as wireline when talking about net neutrality.
And thank God for that. And I really do hope that these kind of public filings are matched by a bit of good old-fashioned Washington lobbying, because I've got a sad kind of feeling that that's exactly where the deals will be made.
Yeah, well, that's not even a feeling. I think you're right. That's just the way it's done these days. And the Internet Association is a lobbyist organization, so you will likely get your wish. Hopefully. The Next Web reports LinkedIn has acquired Noozle, a service that scans your Facebook or LinkedIn contacts and alerts you when anyone in them is mentioned on the web. Noozle will continue to operate as a standalone service, but also be integrated into LinkedIn's existing product.
Yeah, this is weird. I mean, it feels like the last couple of acquisitions that LinkedIn have made have been a little bit desperate to kind of get people back to the site, which is fair enough, I think. But I guess if they're sending push notifications that someone is talking about you or talking about your business, that's probably a lot more useful than the stuff they're sending me right now.
Yeah, I guess there's enough people using Newsel that, which is fun to say, that LinkedIn felt it was worthwhile. And LinkedIn really is trying to become more of a social network and publishing platform than just a glorified contacts manager.
Yeah, and if it can be as good as Google Alerts without so much of the kind of overflow of information you get when you sign up to that, that could be a good thing too.
Yeah. GigaOM reports Babak Parviz, one of the product leads on Google Glass and Google Smart Contact Lenses, has left the company to take a job with Amazon. Parviz announced the switch on Google Plus, writing, "Status, super excited," and including an Amazon logo. Amazon Fire Eyes. Here we come. The Intercept's Glenn Greenwald revealed more secret government programs from the UK's GCHQ, including the ability to change the outcome of online polls, send mass emails and SMS, collect Skype call records, messages, and contact lists, and target denial of service attacks, among several other things. The document is called JTRIG Tools and Techniques. JTRIG stands for Joint Threat Research Intelligence Group.
This is insane. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, remember that story where spies were infiltrating World of Warcraft?
Yes, that's right, because they were trying to like keep tabs on people who were playing World of Warcraft, thinking they might be conducting their planning sessions in the trade chat, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of feels like, I mean, part of me thinks, well, of course they were doing this, but the other part of me thinks, guys, don't you have anything better to do with your time? I mean, what kind of information are you going to get by changing the results of So You Think You Can Dance, or I don't know. It's bizarre. It's a very bizarre world we live in.
You think that's what they would go after? Strictly ballroom kind of stuff?
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, it's possible. I think a lot of this was info ops, right? Like, that terrorist organizations conduct organizational campaigns on the internet. And so I can totally see it being appealing if you're fighting a terrorist organization to get in there and mess with their organizational tools. Maybe they have some polls going on. Maybe they have, a text message list or an email list that you can infiltrate and send out, confusing messages. I can see the appeal of all of these tools. The question is, who's got the oversight to make sure they're only being used against the people that we all agree they should be used against, right? And who gets to decide who those people are? Those are always the questions in all of these leaks, at least to me.
Absolutely.
ZDNet's Mary Jo Foley reports from Microsoft's Worldwide Partner Conference that Microsoft continues to use the theme of productivity, started by CEO Satya Nadella in that internal memo from last week. Chief Operating Officer Kevin Turner told partners that Microsoft wants to offer a, quote, complete suite of Microsoft experiences pre-installed on any device on any platform. That's kind of a new tune, and Satya Nadella alluded to that last week, Peter.
Yeah, and I think Turner makes a great point in the article where he says that if you take all platforms into consideration, that Microsoft actually only has a 14% market share. So when you add in phones and tablets and stuff, so yeah, they really do need to be everywhere. They can't just rely on that 90% market share that they have in the PC. But I mean, their products are fantastic. The iPad apps, I think we were talking about it last time I was on the show. The iPad apps look stunning. So yeah, I really like what they're doing with this.
I think it's smart. I think it's smart to say we're not going to try to control the ecosystem. Let's try to build where the people are and what the people are using. And yet, at the same time, we're not abandoning Windows. We're not going to stop making the Xbox. We're going to keep trying to compete in both ways. Amazon has shown, I think the Kindle's a great example of that you can execute that kind of strategy and win if you do it right.
Yeah, Amazon are really the kind of poster child for this new bizarre world that we live in of being everywhere on all devices.
Time for some news from you. These are stories that are submitted at our subreddit, as are many of our stories in the headlines, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Why not join in if you haven't yet? Go in there. There's 2,700 or more people in there looking at stories, submitting stories, voting on each other's submissions, and I pay attention to that when we put the show together. We got some great stuff today. Metal Freak posted the Independence article that Surrey Nanosystems has created a carbon nanotube material so black it absorbs all but 0.035% of visual light, making it look like a big hole, essentially. The material named Vanta Black is grown on sheets of aluminum foil. Even when you crumple the foil, you can't tell the area where the nanotubes are is crumpled because it does not reflect any of that light that would give you those cues. The material also conducts heat 7.5 times more effectively than copper and has 10 times the tensile strength of steel. Hot Black Desiato would be very excited, and Disaster Area would probably use this ship in their shows. Little Hitchhiker's Guide joke for you. Captain Kipper pointed out the TechCrunch article about the new model of Raspberry Pi that's out called the B+. The new model has 4 USB ports. That's up from 2. 40 GPIO pins. That's up from 26, but the first 26 are still in the same order, so you're good there. A micro SD card slot, lower power consumption, among a few other improvements. The new upgraded Model B+ is still $35, and you can buy it by the Foundation's usual distributors.
Yeah, I love the Raspberry Pi. We've got a bunch of them at work that power our digital signage around the campus. They're such great little machines, so if you haven't played with one, you really should. I'm a little bit bummed out, though, that they didn't get a processing bump because they are still just a tiny bit too laggy to use as a cheap media box. If anyone out there in the audience was thinking of picking one up for that reason, I'd say it's best to get a Chromecast and Plex rather than trying to go with one of these little guys. But yeah, fantastic little hobby toys to play with.
And they were quick to emphasize this is not the new Raspberry Pi model. They were just kind of tweaking the B model to add a few new ports. They do intend to have one in the future that is an entire, like the Raspberry Pi 2, I guess, or something like that. And I would expect that to get the processor bump when they do that.
Yeah.
Mike P. Kennedy posted the Engadget story about BitTorrent getting ready to charge for bundles. Bundles are those ones that you just give an email address and they'll actually send you some content bundled together. Legitimate torrents, all of them. We're not talking about pirated torrents. A test with a major musician will come soon that will sell a bundle. So you have to pay to unlock it instead of just giving your email address. Even more ambitious, BitTorrent is partnering with Rapid Eye Studios to make a sci-fi series called Children of the Machine. Rapid Eye is going to put out $1 million of their own money to make the pilot, and then once you see the pilot, if you want to fund a full 8-episode run, you'll need to be one of 250,000 users to sign up for the BitTorrent bundle at $10 to make it happen. So it's a little paywall for bundles and crowdfunding combined here. Captain Kipper also sent in the 9 to 5 Mac article that Google has launched its popular augmented reality game Ingress for iOS users. Android users have been playing the game since December, out of beta. To play the game, you join a team, either the Resistance or the Enlightened, and then you go out into the real world and locate and collect exotic matter found in real-life locations.
Have you played this, Tom?
I haven't played it. I kind of want to, though. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating as a kind of art project, but it is also a little bit fun to go out there and grab all the bases in your local town. And I know some people who are so into it that the first thing they do when they get off a plane in a new city is hunt down those new locations. Yeah, it's bizarre. It's really fascinating.
It's like it's the excitement of geocaching with the added layer of competitiveness and gamification. It's pretty cool.
It really is.
And Metal Freak posted the PC World article about Samsung temporarily suspending business with Dongguan Shenyang Electronics after following up on reports from China Labor Watch that the supplier was employing underage workers, apparently a couple of 14-year-olds and a 15-year-old. If the investigations conclude that the supplier indeed hired children illegally, Samsung will permanently halt business with the supplier. Samsung had audited Shenyang on June 25th. China Labor Watch says the illegal hirings are alleged to have happened June 29th. And that is a look at the headlines. So real quickly, I just want to let you know, or a reminder, that the Sword and Laser anthology is out at swordandlaser.com/store. We got 10 sci-fi stories, 10 fantasy stories. If you're looking for something to read this summer to finish out your summer or winter if you're in Australia, check it out. You can get it as an ebook, you can get it as a print book, and it's all people in the Sword and Laser podcast audience who wrote the stories, and they did a great job. We had a hard time deciding which ones actually made it into the anthology. There was so much good stuff. So check it out. Another way to support not only this show, but the Sword and Laser show at swordandlaser.com/store. All right, let's get into Netflix getting some hot ratings in Australia. It is according to personal finance site Pocketbook, who commissioned a study of 21,000 Australians. Netflix is now the second most popular paid content media company in Australia, even though, Peter, you have to use a VPN to look at Netflix. They don't exist. They don't market. They don't have an Australian product.
Yeah, if you click on their site without any kind of Holla service or a VPN service plugged in, then you'll get this little sign saying, you know, we're currently not available in your country, please come back. And that hasn't stopped the fact that almost everyone I know, and granted I move in geeky circles, but everyone I know has a Netflix account these days. That's what it seems like. It's pretty remarkable.
It is 27% of those surveyed. Now, you know, I don't know how well weighted this is, but 21,000 is a pretty significant sample. So let's assume for the moment that it is pretty well rated. 27% of Australians are going to the trouble of ungeo-blocking themselves just so they can watch Netflix. And it's not like you don't have similar services. There's QuickFlix, there's Presto, there's EasyFlix. Why do you think it is that people would go to the trouble of learning VPN to watch Netflix when they have these other alternatives that wouldn't require that roadblock?
Well, because the other alternatives really aren't that good. So the one kind of area that you would pay for, the one service you would pay for, is probably Foxtel, which is the single cable company in Australia, and they've gone around and locked up all of the major TV shows, the Game of Thrones and your True Detective, Breaking Bad, all of those kind of shows. They lock down the rights to those shows. And yeah, so if you're going to be paying for content in Australia, that's the one you'd want to pay for. But it's about $100 a month for the cheapest way to get into cable. So,
and that's a typical cable network. That's not just a streaming service, right? That's why it's so expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cable, but very few people use cable in this country. I think at this stage, this year is the highest market penetration that they've got, and that is 30%. They've just cracked 30% of Australian households with cable. I don't know how that compares to America. It just feels like almost everyone has cable except the people who are actively cutting the cord.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the 70 to 80% range here.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons actually is weirdly enough, we had when cable first was introduced, sports weren't allowed to go to cable networks first. They had to be shown on free-to-air networks under an anti-siphoning rule. And there was the term that I love so much. It's sports of national importance was chosen, that they had to be shown first for free.
So Australian rules football, rugby, soccer, cricket. Would those?
Yeah,
be
pretty
the
much.
ones? Yeah.
Yeah, and all of the major games as well. So the Ashes and the Grand Final and those kind of things had to be played first free to air. So that really that really hindered Foxtel and pay TV's growth in Australia. But and I think that's why they are so aggressive when it comes to these products like Game of Thrones, that there is no anti-siphoning law for Game of Thrones. They can quickly grab those and make those exclusives. But yeah, I mean, to go back to your point about why Australians don't go for the clones, the easy flicks and the quick flicks, it's, I'm proud of my nation. We don't go for the cheap knockoffs. We want the real thing. And when Spotify hadn't launched in this country, there were a lot of Spotify clones, and almost no one used them. And now, again, most of my friends use Spotify as their main streaming service. So I think Australians we're very digitally aware. We know what are the brands that people want, and we're prepared to either make our way around them or wait till they come out.
Just a real quick note, BioCow pointed out, I said 27% of Australians, and that isn't exactly right. It's 27% of Australians who are using some kind of media service, be it Foxtel, which is not streaming necessarily, or Netflix or QuickFlix rentals or Amazon Prime. So they were kind of lumping in streaming services with non-streaming services, but it is just of people who use these services, not everyone in the country. I'm not sure how much of a close analog that is or not.
Yeah, and it's also people who use the pocketbook service, which is similar to Mint, I guess. That it automatically scans your bank details and sees what you're spending on. So again, that is something that only nerdier people, I guess, would be using. So it does weight heavily towards the nerdier people. But like I was saying before the show, my mother uses a VPN to get Netflix to watch Orange is the New Black. Now, I reckon you've got a pretty nerdy audience there, Tom, but I still think that a lot of people in your audience probably never would have used a VPN in their life.
Right.
My mother uses a VPN to watch Netflix. I mean, this is just
do you
something
mind saying what she uses? Do you know?
Yeah, she uses Ozflix. I think I bought for it. I mean, there are companies that are specifically set up that are
Right.
they market as this is how you watch Netflix in Australia. It's it's no big deal. So yeah, the big ones that people tend to use are Unblock Us. That's the really popular one if you're trying to watch Netflix on an Apple TV or an Xbox or something like that, where you really have to change the DNS is the easier way to do it. But yeah, no, she just uses maybe a nerdy son of hers set it up for her, but she does use Netflix and she loves it.
Well, you pointed out the Sydney Morning Herald, which is the national paper of record in Australia, has an article about using OLA, the Chrome extension unblocker, and they mention a few others in here as well. Like, I don't know that I would never see this in the New York Times, but it certainly wouldn't be as, I don't know, it would be handled differently, I would expect.
Yeah, it's just amazing that there are so many articles like this that will run in the Sydney Morning Herald and the Daily Telegraph and all of these major mainstream media services. Funnily enough, the mainstream TV services don't tend to mention this all that often, but
sure.
Yeah, the newspapers are quite happy. Yeah, are quite happy to explain to people, just because I mean they must know, they must see that is what people are searching for. They must see that when they mention Netflix in an article, they get hits. They get crazy hits. I mean, we see it on our own site. I've made fun of it before of just. I'll do an article that is just the entire story is Game of Thrones pirate torrent, and that is the entire article. So, these are the things that get views in this country.
Now, Village Roadshow, the movie company, confirmed on June 26th that they are in negotiations with Netflix for rights regarding an Australian launch. So it sounds like Netflix is coming to Australia. However, and I don't want to get in arguments over the methodology of the survey, but just the fact that of people who are using this personal financial service and stream media, it's so much in favor of Netflix over the legitimate Australian site QuickFlix or EasyFlix. It says to me that the US version of Netflix has a whole lot more things that are interesting to the Australian audience because they're dying for that content. Do you think if Netflix launches legitimately in Australia, under the restrictions of having to get the same kinds of deals that EasyFlix or QuickFlix gets, will people still just use the US version?
That'll be the test. I mean, I know a few people who, a lot of the services like Unblock Us will give you the option of flipping countries, and Netflix doesn't seem to mind that as well. So, I know people who flip to the UK to watch Doctor Who and then flip back to America to watch Orange is the New Black or whatever. So I can see them doing. I can see a lot of people holding on to their US account and flipping back and forth. And I do think that when Netflix does launch, I think it will be a service that tends to have a lot of things delayed, and it won't be anywhere near as impressive as Foxtel's streaming service. But I don't know. I just feel that they're gonna do well either way. These are floodgates waiting to be open.
Yeah. I think it's a testament to the fact that the internet will route around and try to get whatever it is that it wants, and it will do it legally or illegally, or in this case, a combination of both. Remember, these are people who aren't pirating; they're paying money to Netflix. It's just the Netflix in the United States because they want to get around the geo restriction. And the geographical restriction made perfect sense when it took a while for the movie canisters to get across the ocean and you just couldn't launch something simultaneously. And so you start to realize, okay, well, timing in different places is going to be different. But these days, everything launches at the same time, whether you want it to or not, around the world.
Yeah, if you are not up to date with Game of Thrones, then you are going to be spoiled on Twitter in Australia, 3 minutes after the episode airs in the States. I mean, we've seen people take days off, all over Sydney. Half my friends were taking days off for the final episode of Game of Thrones because it aired here about 2 in the afternoon in Sydney. But and that's one other thing I will say actually is that Australians are constantly brought up as the world's worst pirates. We're constantly topping Torrent Freak polls of stealing more episodes of Game of Thrones or whatever it is than anyone else. And often, I feel a little bit proud about that. I think it's a bit of a market correction because we're not getting the market that we deserve. So we're getting around it in any way we can. But I like these stories too because they just show that, look, if you let us pay, we will pay you. And in fact, even if you don't let us pay, we will still pay you. We'll find a way.
Yeah.
And even Spotify, when Spotify launched in this country, the general manager of Spotify said that Australians now pay for the premium service of Spotify at a higher rate than anyone else in the world as well. So we're not averse to paying for content. We love it. I'm a patron of this show. I like paying for content I enjoy, but just let us do it, please.
Yeah. It's not about theft. It's not about crime for most people. Maybe for some it is, but those are a vast minority. Let's look at the calendar. Tomorrow, July 15th, is the deadline for the first round of comments on the FCC Open Internet Guidelines. So far, the FCC has received more than 647,000 net neutrality comments. Following the close of the initial comment period, a period for reply comments will open through September 10th. So tomorrow isn't your last chance to make any kind of comment. It's to make an opening comment. A final vote on the proposed rules is not expected to take place until the end of the year. Also tomorrow, Xbox One's Kinect sensor becomes available for Windows. It'll start shipping. Continuing today through July 17th, Microsoft's Worldwide Partner Conference in Washington, D.C., as we mentioned in the headlines. Also today, Microsoft's Research Faculty Summit in Redmond, Washington. Today through July 16th, Fortune Magazine's Brainstorm Tech Conference happens in Aspen, Colorado. And tomorrow, July 15th, Q2 earnings out for Intel and Yahoo. And there's a lot of buzz about the Yahoo earnings and what that's going to end up meaning. Marissa Mayer's grace period seems to be coming to an end with investors anyway. Our pick of the day comes from Preston in lovable Silicon Valley, says Preston. Most of the time I hear a recommendation for a podcasting app, it is usually for Downcast or Pocket Cast. Well, Preston, the reason you hear that is because those are the two I use. He says, I'm sure they are very good. I just wanted to throw a new one in the mix. For almost 3 years now, I've been using iCatcher for my podcasting enjoyment. Talking to a friend who uses Downcast, we were comparing features. iCast seems to match up pretty well. One thing we did find was that the playback speeds differed a bit. iCatcher offers different times and playback speeds, but they notice that they don't tell the truth. Like, what did he say here? 1 hour podcast played at 1.5x speed took almost 50 minutes to get through, so it wasn't done after his 40-minute commute. And iCatcher is accurate by listening to a 56-minute podcast at 1.25x. It finished in about 45 minutes, which is correct mathematically. iCatcher is also very well supported and adding new features through regular updates. It's $2.99, worth every penny in Preston's opinion.
Fair enough. I've got to say, I know Russell, who is the developer of Pocket Casts, he will be writing in to say that they actually also play at an accurate speed.
Right, and he was comparing to Downcast, not Pocket Cast in that particular case. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
And not to dispute iCatcher. I know a ton of people in the audience use iCatcher. I have found that when I'm trying to track down a feed error, it's iCatcher that is usually the one that has the problem. It feels like Pocket Casts and Downcast are more forgiving of RSS errors, and that's not a knock on iCatcher. iCatcher is being standards compliant, so it's not necessarily wrong of it to do that, but it is a little bit less forgiving, I've noticed sometimes, but with my own errors, so I can't really criticize him for that.
No, that's fair. I can't go past the syncing between Android and iOS of Pocket Cast, so that's why it's always going to be my favorite.
Yeah, it's brilliant for that. That's why I use it on Android. Send your picks to feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Our messages of the day, got a couple before we go. Paul writes in on our comments page on the wearables producing their own power front. He wanted to point out Seiko, since the late 1980s, has had an automatic quartz watch where a normal automatic watch relies on a wearer's movements to wind the watch mechanically. The Seiko Direct Drive uses the wearer's movements to charge and drive quartz movement, all in a standard watch format. Not a lot of power, but they have done it. Now the question is, who has the patents and how much power can be generated? Thanks for that, Paul. I knew there were watches that used your kinetic energy to do things like that, like winding themselves, essentially. That's a big jump from that to powering a smartwatch, though.
Yeah, once you throw an LCD in that mix, yeah, you're gonna need more juice.
And then Olav writes in with, I think, is a fair correction to our perspective on the right to be forgotten debate. He says, what the right to be forgotten is really about. I know you've discussed it a number of times. Flogging a dead horse comes to mind, but I think this should be addressed. The right to be forgotten is not about slightly embarrassing posts one did a while back. It's about mistakes made, most likely not by oneself, one has no control over, that ruin lives. Let's just say that searching some average Joe for some reason gives search results about rape cases, child molestation, porn, or embezzlement. Search algorithms aren't disclosed, which probably attributed to the ruling. There is no source or mistake you can correct. No incorrect article can be retracted, or the sources may even have been corrected, but the search result didn't reflect that. So it'd be great if you on the show could stop looking at this as, well, if you posted it, live with it. Of course, one should live with the things that one has posted. That's not what this is about. Calling the right to be forgotten doesn't help things. It would probably be perceived differently if referred to as the right to have a say about horrible search results beyond your control. I can't see that taking off anytime soon, he says. All right, keep up the good work. Thank you, Olav. I totally get what Olav is saying is if there's an incorrect search result about you out there that makes you look like a bad person and it's not true or it's incorrect, then you should have recourse to fix that. I think where it gets people is not about the, like, you posted it, you should live with it. It's about the person who was indicted for fraud. The article is correct. The person has done his time and paid for his crime, and the person feels that even though the article is correct and the search result is correct, they would like people not to see that anymore because they want to put it behind them. And that's where it's on the edge, because the situations that Olav is describing here are perfectly reasonable. Like, that's a mistaken search result. The article isn't even there anymore. I need to be able to contact Google and say, get that out of your index. It's not even right. What about when it's right, but it's old and maybe not relevant anymore? That's where it gets tricky.
It really does. I mean, in Australia, if you get arrested for smaller charges, just even things like speeding fines, for instance, that will be removed from your record after 4 years, so that you then have a clean record again. And if you need to, apply for a job or something like that. Actually, speeding doesn't even count. That's not even a proper.
Let's say it was an accident, it was your fault or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Minor theft or something like that. That actually gets taken off your police record after a couple of years, so that you're not constantly, blotted by that record. But yeah, of course, that would stay in a newspaper search headline. But I still don't think, we're still looking at this. We're looking at a problem that I just don't think will be fixed. I mean, what about just having a bad CEO-friendly name? I mean, my name is Peter Wells. There are so many thousands of Peter Wellses out there that there's no way I'm ever going to be on the front page of a search. For all my social media douchebaggery and everything else, like I'm still link number 5 on the front page.
Say that now.
Oh God, yeah. That's the thing. It'll be something I don't want. Will it finally get me on that front page?
And then we'll have you back on. You're like, I entirely support the right to be forgotten immediately.
Yeah, I'll be able to travel through the EU happily, but I'll just be shut in my own town.
Thank you, Olav, though, for that comment. He put that up on TomMerritt.com, actually, but it was really good point of view. Appreciate that. Reckoner.com.au if you want to keep up with Peter Wells' work on Reckoner and all of his stuff. Well, not all of his stuff, but all the stuff he's going to share with you is at twitter.com/Peter Wells. Anything in particular coming up you want to let folks know about?
No, just follow me on Twitter, and I promise 3 interesting posts a year or your money back.
There you go. Everything you pay to subscribe to it will be refunded if you don't get 3 interesting posts. Thank you, Peter. It's always a pleasure, and I really, really do appreciate you dealing with the time difference between us to be on the show. It's really fun.
Not at all, sir. Honestly, it's always good to just see how you work. It's always fun. I always feel like I learn a lot being on this show.
Well, thank you. And thank you for supporting the Patreon. There are 4,130 folks in there now. Really appreciate every single one of you seeing the value in the show and being willing to give some value back to keep it on the air. bit.ly/helpdtns or patreon.com/acedetect. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And listen to the show live at mobile.alphageekradio.com. 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with journalist Annie Gauss. See you then.
radio program so good, it's like you're there.
Done.
Yay.
Hey, did you see what we got? We got a present.
We got a present.
E. Khalif gave us a present.
What? El Khalif?
Yeah. Is it El Khalif, and that's why it never automatically...
Yep.
It's an
I think
L.
so.
So it's El Khalif. All right, that explains a lot. But more importantly, he made us a title vote getter.
Ooh, thank you, El Khalif.
It's a little bot, and people can vote in the chat room for the titles.
That's awesome.
They can add a title with a chat, thing. It's really cool. So it's showbot.replex.org.
Yay!
In the chat room. Thanks, El Khalif.
Nerdflix Down Under. Nice.
Yeah. See? Now I don't have any post-show work to do except
Nice. That's brilliant. That's the way I
find
should.
people to do this.
And great show, Peter. Thank you, as always.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, sir. I froze up a couple of times there. I hope it wasn't noticeable. It was mainly when you were
I
talking.
mean, like
so I forget.
emotionally froze up, or like loss of packets?
Yeah, lots of packets.
Audio-wise, you were a little bit crunchy a couple of times, but it was never so bad that you couldn't understand what you're saying. You sounded totally intelligible, and most of the time you were great. So I'm not too worried.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good.
It
Good,
just
good.
occasionally sounded like there were two of you, and I just wasn't sure if that was me or.
Well, that's why I went and turned off my monitor in here because I wasn't sure if that was causing it.
Yeah, I could hear myself coming back through your video.
Yeah, I saw that. So I turned off the monitor, and hopefully that fixed that.
Cool. Alrighty, well, thank you guys. I will head off to work. But
all right.
yeah.
Have a good
Cheers.
Tuesday.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
I like that Silverblade was like, "This is great. Now you can fire Jenny."
No, believe me,
Technology
there's plenty more for Jenny to do.
replaces people. That's what it does. No, if you can write a bot that, I shouldn't even say this, but if you guys can write a bot that does the show notes and books all the guests, I will retire.
I love this.
Or at least move
So
on.
is this the same bot that they use on Night Attack?
I don't know.
Because it's on Diamond Club.
I
I mean, it's got the Diamond Club logo.
yeah. But this is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Proximity Pirates. Ozflix. My mother uses a VPN. Orphan More Than Black. Virtual Personal Netflix. And Nerdflix Down Under, which is the clear leader.
I do like Proximity Pirates, even though it doesn't have any
I know.
votes. It's pretty good.
I know. Well, we'll give it a little while. Maybe it'll vote up.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
My
Book
mother
bot.
uses a VPN. That's really good too. Let's just set the expectation right now. We are
Yes.
not always going to take the top vote getter. We want the votes so we can see where the winds are blowing, but
Yes.
we
we're
reserve
only
the
a-
right.
We are only a benevolent dictatorship. We take all of your suggestions with utmost seriousness.
Because there's some good ones in here. My mother uses a VPN, Virtual Personal Netflix, Nerdflix Down Under. Those are all great. Proximity Pirates too.
Mm-hmm. He looks really
You
good.
just wrote it. Thanks, El Khalif. That's awesome. Yeah, Metal Freak. I saw the thing about CNET getting hacked. The secret truth is they get hacked all the time. It's not a.
It's not a secret truth anymore.
I mean, that's true of any of
Yeah,
the PC Mag,
it's everybody
TechTV.com. When I was there, they always are getting hacked. It's more about the severity of this hack in particular, and the fact that it got known.
By the way, we actually have 4,134 patrons since I wrote that.
Woo!
And
Wow.
we are less than $1 away from 11,300. We are actually 67 cents away. 67 cents away from 300. Are there 67
I'm actually
of you?
less. I don't know. It feels.
I know you're not less worried about the money, but
I like the number of people.
I like the rounding up of dollars.
The dollars starts to feel greedy. to my Midwestern sensibility.
I know, but just remember, everybody, if the more money we get, the more people we can hire in a terrible economy. That's how I look at it. The more people we can pay. By the way, I was going to do an update on it, and then I remembered, oh wait, I'm on vacation. I'm not going to do an update this week.
That's fine. Yeah, I didn't even blink. That's what I assumed. So I didn't even worry about it.
But that someone sent us a tremendous email that I'm going to put on next week's update, which was all about vacations. Did you read it?
Oh, yeah. The one who ordered me, my boss who ordered me to take a vacation. Yeah, I like that.
Email ever. So
I sent him a response. Yeah. I sent an email response as well.
I'm going to call it out at some point because it's super awesome. See, what else have we got going on?
I know it's only getting 2 votes, but I think I want to use my mother uses a VPN.
Well, El Khalif did write the program.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Proximity Pirates is pretty good. Nerdflix Down Under is obviously the most popular one. Mm-hmm. And it's good too. I don't know. Do you have a preference?
Let me look at the handy thing that means I no longer have to write them down in a separate document. Please stand by. Where is it though? Showbot. Oh, Nerdflix Down Under has 10 votes. Proximity Pirate got 8 real fast. I kind of like virtual personal Netflix because it's exactly the story.
Yeah, it does. It brings all of the words from the story in.
And it is clever because it also spells VPN.
Yep. I am swayed. That's going to be the title.
Right, but yeah. But what's actually cool is, hey, El Khalif, are these going to get saved or do they disappear every day? That's my question.
Waiting for the lag so El Khalif can hear your question. Hey.
I like it. Hey, it's a new ace detect word. It's an ace detectatorship.
An ace dictatorship.
That's amazing.
I could still remember the cherrywood $25 Office Depot desk I was sitting at when I created that stupid username Ace Detect on my HP Pavilion.
Yeah.
That I still have.
That's like when I signed up for Hotmail and I was like, oh, my email, Jenny_Josephson@hotmail.com. Like, you need my whole name. I mean, I might as well just put my social security number on it.
Because I was like, I'm going to be clever and get the free website from concentric.net without having to pay full ride. I'm going to get a shell account. And then I signed up with Ace Detect, DET, and they're like, oh yeah, you don't get the shell account you don't get the website with that. Oh. I'm like, oh. So then I canceled it, and then I signed up again. But when I tried to use Ace Detect, they're like, that username's taken. I'm like, yeah, it was taken by me, and I just canceled the account. Like, nope. So I'm like, oh, fine. So I just put Detect without an E on just like in a rush, like, I just want to get this signed up.
And your entire identity, your entire digital identity.
No idea what I was doing. 26 years old.
Oh my God, I can't.
BioCow says he stole that title from Todd Whitehead last week.
Oh, of course. It's always Todd Whitehead.
Takes a village, BioCow.
If there's a genius title, it really usually came from Todd Whitehead. Or Toby Pinder. Or who's that guy?
Now you've dug yourself into a hole because you're like, uh-oh.
No, I'm talking about, like, you know how there are like subreddit champions? Like, there are clearly champions of the subreddit.
Sure. Captain Kipper obviously has a great subreddit track.
Metal Freak wears like a certain subreddit crown. Like,
absolutely.
That is their natural domain. But in title world,
Iaz was that for Buzz Out Loud.
Right.
That's how I got to know Iaz.
Yeah. You're like, that guy has a nimble mind.
That Eaz.
Yes, that Eaz. That Elaz.
Elyaz, as I originally called him. Like, I saw what you wrote in there.
Dig, dig, dig.
Actually, subreddit, not dig. Eh.
Ace detectator totter. Nice.
Excuse me?
Tater tots. Mmm.
Now you got me hungry.
I know. We are going to go eat Shake Shack tonight, which
Oh,
I'm
nice.
so happy
They
about.
have
because-
one near the
well,
lake?
it's not. I wouldn't call it near, but it's
Oh,
not
okay.
in New York. It's in New Jersey. It's on Route 17, which is my old stomping grounds.
In
from when I
New
lived in New
Jersey.
New Jersey. So that's happening.
Nice. I love Shake Shack.
Oh, exciting. Thank you, Danny Meyer, for existing.
Now, Metal Freak.
Metal
Nice.
Freak. Oh boy. You got it. I got it. Wait, I'm going to do this right now before I forget because they're all Twitter links. But TVZ Gun has like the best pictures. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
don't get me wrong. The picture that Chimera took is now my like everything avatar.
Oh,
So
is
they're
that the
all
one that you're
amazing.
using? I like that picture.
Yeah, yeah. That was me being briefly terrified by being up on the podium. Let's see, where are they? Direct.
Uh-oh. Archive.org is down.
Oh boy.
Do. My guess, they'll come back up.
Here's hoping. Because that
Someday.
would suck.
Oh, no.
All right.
They'll come
Here we
back.
go.
These things
I'm doing
happen.
this right now in an email, like an old-fashioned person with an email. Does that work? Yeah, that worked.
In fact, I bet there's another way. Scheduled maintenance. Really, Archive? You do your scheduled maintenance right now?
Hey, we have a show going on.
After all, I don't pay you? They did say sorry.
Yeah. And the third one is here. These are the ones I really like. See, I like this because now I got to see what DTNS al fresco looked like.
Oh, right, because you weren't there yet.
I wasn't there, and it
TTNS al
looked
fresco.
so much fun. Let's see. All right, so Tom, Benny, subject line. Even though they're little ... links, they still work. I tested them. It's a weird thing. But wait, can we seriously talk about the fact that I'm at 0 inbox for most of my little inboxes? That's so impressive.
Good job. That is impressive.
Okay. And all right, so I sent those. Thank you, TVZ Gun. Yes, and Sevgons with those amazing stickers. Now I can never get rid of this computer.
It goes to the Smithsonian.
Did you ever get yours from Dave of the shirts?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
I did. And I gave one to Alpha
To Todd.
Geek.
Good. Okay. I was like, I'm just gonna be like Night Attack and pretend this is all gonna work out and leave.
Channel Night Attack.
I'm learning.
Okay, that's something interesting. Why is that? Why would that do that? Is that hitting? Short. That's what's causing things to happen.
Okay, so apparently to wipe the title slate clean, you message Showbot reset chat. Let's see, Showbot. Is he in here? Oh, there he is.
Yay, archive.org is back.
That's good.
I knew it wouldn't be very long. And I'm uploading. Thank you, archive.org. Remind me to donate to you today. I have
I'm waiting for
before.
the archive.org Patreon.
I don't think that would work for them. I guess it could do it monthly, but They do have a donation because they're an actual like nonprofit organization.
Yeah. Oh. Interesting.
Is the water still falling from the sky?
No, it's this band has passed.
Ah, very good.
I have a dog and a cat next to me. It's great. It's just like home, only it smells like a lake. Kitty cat. Kitty cat is unimpressed by the internet.
Doing tricks.
Yeah, she's just like, yeah, I see you. I don't care. I am doing my yearly thing I do when I come to the lake, which is I reread all of David Eddings.
Oh wow.
Well,
Really?
not. I reread all of the one universe of David Eddings.
Uh-huh.
The other ones, there's
That's
like
cool.
so many books.
You know, we have never done David Eddings for Sword and Laser. We should do that.
He's dead, so that's
That-
a problem.
Well, that doesn't matter. We read Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke, and they're
Alright.
dead too.
I didn't know if you were going to try to interview him. I think his
No,
wife
no, I
died
mean for
too.
our monthly book pick, not for the interviews.
Oh, yeah.
So we should not interview David Eddings. You're right. That would be-
But actually, somebody should interview somebody who was associated with those books.
No, but
somehow.
our monthly book pick, we just try to pick a
Right.
book from any era, whether it's brand
Yeah.
new or old.
Well, you could have the fierce debate about which of his two major. He did like 3 different worlds, but really there are 2, and you could have a very fearsome debate about which ones are better.
Oh, I'm sure that will happen.
Yeah. Because that would be great.
That definitely
those
will
books
happen.
were like so formative for young Jenny.
Which books are you reading?
So it's the Camelot and the one that came before it, the Aluminium or the shoot. I just put the other one away. I never remember what the official, but it's not the Malorian.
Okay.
It's the one with it's the one that came after, and so everybody thinks it's a ripoff. But if you read it first, you'd never know. The Aluminium? Oh, I'm saying that wrong.
Tumuli?
Camelot. I don't know. I actually don't know.
Well, and that's the other thing. This annoys me with authors, and some authors that I 100% respect otherwise. When you ask them, well, how is this pronounced? They're like, however you want it to be pronounced.
That's not what Tolkien would say.
Or you'll be like, oh, and in the audiobook they say it this way, and they'll say, oh, no, it should be pronounced this way. I'm like, well, then why did you let the audiobook? Well, I just like, it's important to me. It's my little OCD. I understand. But yeah, some authors are like, I don't really care how you pronounce it. It's fine. Pronounce it however you want.
No, then they're not really paying attention.
I
Or
guess
they're
they're
not
just
open.
like open to the interpretation. The book is what you make of it. If you hear that different pronunciation, that's fine, man. It's all good. We're all just, starlight, not this crude matter.
Now, someone who was that Christmas just asked a really good question, which is, who?
Would you write a screenplay for David Eddings?
Yeah, I mean, I would, but my question is, who has the rights to those movies? I'm currently Googling.
Are you looking?
Yeah. I mean, I just sense that I sense they would be very difficult.
Do you sense a disturbance in the force?
Yeah. It really sucked because like I read those books when I was so young, and it never occurred to me to well, there was less of an internet and I was less aware of it, but like I wish I had known. And like, I don't know, it just sucks when you're like, oh, now I could look up this author and write him. No, they passed away. Oops.
Oh, Anthony
The
Carboni was
elite.
saying they talked about that on his podcast with Kanata. The last Crumbs cupcakes are selling on eBay for hundreds of dollars.
Ugh.
Crumbs has got good cupcakes, but I still wouldn't pay hundreds of dollars for them.
Well, there's so many other cupcakes out there in the world
Exactly.
that are good.
You can go get a cheaper cupcake that's pretty
You
much
can-
just as good.
Make one in your house.
Well, I cannot make a Crumbs cupcake, personally. But I'm sure you could.
Oh,
But I could go to another cupcake place and spend $6 instead of $100.
Uh-oh, I've just gotten myself into a hot mess. Would
What?
you write a screenplay for Lot Beta and then run a Kickstarter to get it produced?
Who asked that? Oh, Christmas.
Christmas, let me just say I do not own the rights. I'm not a rights holder to Lot Beta.
Lot
and
Beta is issued
therefore-
under a Creative Commons license, so as long as you provide attribution, you can do so.
What? That's crazy, Tom. You you and I disagree on this matter. Let's see. Okay. Wait, hold on. Many questions coming in.
I am not working on an audiobook version yet of Lot Beta, but I will, Subguns, for sure.
TVZ Gone, LA Story is one of the best movies ever about Los Angeles. It has certain universal truths about LA, which are pretty true, but there was a distinct late 80s, early 90s bit of LA, which is probably no longer quite true. But it's like it is a perfect snapshot of LA at a certain time. Have you ever seen that movie, Tom?
Which one?
LA Story?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so good. You would, after living here for 2 years, even though it's a little dated, you would really appreciate it.
Yeah. Who's in it?
Steve Martin and his wife. Steve Martin and his wife, Victoria Tennant.
I probably have seen it, like, without really paying. You know what I mean? Like, it was probably on TV on HBO or something at some point, and I saw part of it or something. But yeah, I should watch it while paying attention, huh?
It has a lovely magical realism thing going on too.
Is that the one where he's shooting on the freeway?
It's the one where he's. No, that's the one with Eddie Murphy. This is the one where the freeway signs talk to him.
Oh, okay.
And the one with Sarah Jessica Parker playing like Sandy with an IE and a little heart. She's just like this classic Valley Girl type.
Square pegs, square pegs, square.
Yeah.
Square pegs.
I'll tell you a square peg story someday. Off
Right.
the air. Let's see. Interesting. I'm reading about David Eddings. And it's a big, long article, and I'm very excited to read it. Oh, right, there's Road Rage season. I thought that was in... I have to watch that movie again. I forgot about Road Rage season.
The upload's taking a long time.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to end the video.
And the video. I'm
Bye,
running out
video.
of juice. Bye,
See
juice.
ya.
Bye. Bye.